You know that feeling someone says yes to hanging out with you, but you can tell it's because your first plan got cancelled. You're not the invite, you're the backup invite. And if you felt that a lot in your life, in friendships, in relationships, in family, you've probably wondered what's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with you, but something did happen to you, and it's more interesting than you think. Here's why it hurts more than it logically should. You still got the yes. You still got the time with them. But your brain isn't just tracking whether you got included, it's tracking rank. Psychologists call this the Sociometer theory. The idea that your self esteem works less like a fixed number and more like a gauge, constantly and unconsciously measuring how much the people around you actually want you there. When you sense you were the second pick, the gauge drops, even if nobody said a word. And that drop isn't just emotional, it's physical. In one well known study, people were left out of a few rounds of a simple game, nothing dramatic, and brain scans showed the same regions lighting up as physical pain. Not similar to pain, the same circuitry. So when you find out that your plan B, some part of your body, is registering it like an actual injury, you're not being dramatic. That's just how you're built. But not everybody carries this the same way, and that's the part that actually explains people. For some, it goes back further than any one relationship. A kid who grew up watching a parent's attention go somewhere else first, a sibling, a job, doesn't matter what, learns to read the room for their own rank before they even have words for it. Am I the priority right now, or am I what's left over? Once you learn to ask that question early enough, you don't stop. It just follows you into every relationship after. Here's something that might change how you see this. Being second isn't always personal. Some people keep someone in their orbit as a kind of emotional safety net, not because that person doesn't matter, but in case their main thing doesn't work out. It's not usually cruelty. It's people hedging the way people hedge everything. Doesn't make it hurt less, but it does mean the story you're telling yourself that you weren't good enough to be first is often just wrong. You were second in their math, not in your actual worth. Now, here's what this does to people over time, and this is where you probably recognize yourself. Most people who have felt this a lot fall into one of two patterns. Some try harder, becoming the most available person in the room, always replying fast, always remembering, always giving first. Not out of generosity, out of fear. If I'm useful enough, I won't get replaced. Others go the opposite way and stop letting anyone close enough to rank them at all. Looks like independence from the outside, but from the inside, it's just protection you built so early you don't even notice you're doing it. And here's the part that actually hurt. People stuck in either pattern tend to stay in relationships and friendships where they're clearly not the priority for longer than they should. Not because they don't notice, they notice everything, but because it's familiar, and familiar doesn't set off alarm bells the way it should. It's just the temperature they grew up in. Familiar isn't the same as good, it just feels like home. Before we go further, let's be clear. None of this means you should want less. You don't need to lower what you expect from people just to make being second easier to swallow. You're allowed to want to be chosen. You're allowed to want love that doesn't feel like an audition, respect that doesn't run out, loyalty that doesn't depend on how useful you were that week. That's not asking for too much. That's the baseline, and that's what you deserve. So here's what actually fixes this. Three steps, not just a mindset shift. First, confirm it before you react to it. One instance isn't a pattern. Watch for a few weeks instead of guessing. Does this keep happening with the same person specifically, or did you just catch one bad week? You need repetition, not a mood. Second, say it instead of deciding it silently. This is the step almost everyone skips. They go straight from feeling hurt to quietly deciding this person doesn't value them, without ever finding out if that's even true. One direct sentence does more than months of silent resentment. I've noticed I'm usually the backup option. Is that how you actually see it? What they say and what they do differently after tells you almost everything. Third, If nothing changes, pull your effort, not your standards. If you've confirmed it and said something and it's still the same, stop being the one who always initiates, always adjusts, always gives first. Not to punish them, to see what's actually left. If it survives without you constantly carrying it, it was real. If it quietly falls apart the moment you stop overfunctioning, that was your answer. You just needed to stop supplying the effort long enough to see it clearly. You were never the problem here, you were just choosing the wrong judges. Now tell me, which pattern do you catch yourself in more? Trying harder or pulling away? Drop it in the comments, and if this one hit close, the next video connects directly to this. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.